Hi, I'm your host, Japes, and I'm here with Rupert McClintock. Rupert,
Hello?
hello. Rupert, so we can start off with this question. What do you do for work?
Yeah, well, I work in public affairs, specifically really in science communication. So I work for a laboratory. We do a pretty broad set of research. That actually makes my job really, really challenging because there's a lot that I have to learn and I have to be able to speak fairly authoritatively on, um, which is somewhat challenging, especially when you get into the physics end of it, which I'm not a physicist, of course, by training. But yeah, I enjoy it a lot. I get to learn a lot pretty much every day and meet all kinds of crazy people. So
Okay, so what did you do before? Were you also in the scientific community?
no, so I worked for a state legislature for about 5 years, and that was an educational experience, but it was also quite frustrating because the state is bankrupt, but ethically and and literally. But then I spent a few years working in oil pipeline construction projects. I was community and government affairs, mostly was kind of like the guy that just got yelled at for a living all day, every day, which I really enjoyed. Oddly enough, I was really into. And then after that, the market bottomed out, so a lot of the projects I was supposed to be on got canceled. So I ended up actually doing PR, um, PR contracting in Chicago and St. Louis for I'm actually contractually obligated not to say, oddly enough, but it's a very large online retailer, if that's sufficient
Okay,
note of word.
okay.
And that was interesting. They were very intense, very demanding, and on some level I like that because I like being challenged. But I spent too much time in an office, and I'm somewhat hyperkinetic, so I just need to be kept moving. And this job actually offered me the opportunity to get out of the lab and out of the office every day, which I kind of need. So it's been a good adjustment.
Okay. So what was your home life like when you were in the petroleum industry?
Well, that was a little different because in the petroleum industry, because you're working between 6 and 7 days a week, and you're often living out of hotels. So it's not even an applicable answer, right? You don't have a home life at that point. When I came off of that, it was nice because I got to reconnect with my friends and family, and get back into playing poker and video games and actually being social again, which was great. Went out with my dad a lot. Like we'd go out and have dinner for like 4 hours at a time, twice a week. It's awesome. It was cool. But yeah, that was nice.
Okay, so what do you like to do for fun, like on the weekends or?
I draw a lot. I like to read a lot. I travel about as much as I can afford, which I mean, I haven't traveled much this past few years, which is great because I've saved some money. So this year I've kind of gone gangbusters. Next year I probably will too. Um, haven't been out of the country for like 7 years, but before that I went out of the country actually several times. So I'm looking forward to getting back in the swing of that. I'm going back to Japan in about a month, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Now, I'm hoping next year to do a tour of like Eastern Europe. Just sort of depends on what time allows.
Okay. Since we're on the topic of travel, what was your most memorable experience or trip?
Peru, actually. I went to Machu Picchu and saw the sunrise. So I got really lucky with the timing there because it's kind of tricky to get there at sunrise, but it was stunning. I spent a lot of time hiking and backpacking around Colorado, and those were all very memorable experiences too. But like the mountain range in Peru was I've never even seen anything like it. It was just stupid gorgeous. And my dad was there and he'd been to Africa a couple times, and I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And he's just like, yeah, Africa's better. Like, thanks, but yeah, I liked it. That's cool.
Okay. How do you maintain a work-life balance?
Uh, yeah, it's actually it's a lot easier now that I have a 40-hour work week, which I'm not at all used to, even remotely. But because again, I used to work really long days. Like I'd wake up at 4:15 in the morning, and then I'd be at the office at like 5:15. We have meetings, and then go off work next 12 hours, and then you'd get off, and then you're on call for the rest of the day, and you never turn it off. Um, and I didn't have anything approaching a work-life balance then. Although again, like I really liked being able to dive into work. So it's a trade-off because this one I can totally check out of. In fact, the second I'm off work, I don't even think about it. I like my job. I mean, it's fun. I get a lot out of it, but I don't even think about it. As far as life, I moved to a fairly rural area, so I don't know. Geez, I don't really do much besides I'll go out here. Yeah, I mean, I do my own things. I got plenty of hobbies, and I got friends in other towns. Like friends back home. So we'll play games online, or I'll do like video chats and stuff like that with people. Again, it's more important to me that I travel.
So you mentioned online gaming
Yeah,
twice.
yeah, yeah.
So when did you start gaming online?
Uh, yeah. I actually really haven't. I play games, but I've never been that hardcore of a gamer. But the first game that I played online, I don't know what the first one was, but I did admittedly get into World of Warcraft for a little bit because I had so many friends that did it, and I always thought it was like, this is so dumb. But it was nice. It was nice to get together with the guys and we can go, we could go kill internet dragons or whatever. But I got way too bored with it. I couldn't do it. So I've unplugged from that. It's just garbage. But, but yeah, I mean, now we pick up like really, really cheap games when they're on sale and we'll just dive in and try to do it once a week. I think we're going to try to do it tonight, but I know something else popped up. I don't remember what it was. So
So what's currently your favorite game that you're playing?
I like Overwatch. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys that just run around and shoot each other, and that's something I can understand. I can get behind that. It's really cool. It's very cartoony. So actually, it's very like bright colors and very happy, despite the fact that it's gratuitous violence. It's a very I don't know how to describe it. It's like a very happy game, which is weird, and all the characters are like really fun. So it is violent, but it's not Call of Duty like, oh, I'm killing this guy, and then you got a bunch of teenage kids that make fun of your mom. Like, you don't have that. It's a pretty mature crowd, and they're just there to have fun, which is cool.
Okay. Do you think that this is like a way that you can keep in contact with your friends from back east?
Oh yeah, I mean I would do it anyway, but yeah, yeah, definitely keep in contact with them because I don't live near them anymore, so we don't get really to hang out. But this works. I mean, the internet really helps. We've got voice chat and all that other stuff, so we can trash talk each other over the internet.
So how do you keep yourself motivated to get up and do what you do every day?
Yeah, well, I that's actually it's a great question. I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I'm not a religious person. I think you get one chance through life, and that's it, and then you're gone forever. So you should really make, at least if that viewpoint is correct, then you should make the absolute most of your time. And I just maybe I'm a little obsessive over it, but I just want to make sure that I'm spending my time balanced. Of course, obviously I take time for leisure, but I also want to take time for skill building and knowledge building and just trying to make myself a better person in many different aspects, even ethically. Um, and all of these things are important especially because, by the way, you meet certain people in your life that affect others around them in profound ways where you're like, wow, that guy is amazing or that woman is amazing. And like those people they're like meteors moving through life and they give you something to aspire to. And whether it comes naturally to them or they have to build on it, whatever, it is an achievable standard because human beings can achieve that because they have. So, yeah, those kinds of people are definitely they're profoundly motivating just the fact that they exist.
Have you, can you name any meteors in your life?
Uh,
Explain.
yeah, I can actually. My dad is one of the most well-read men I've ever met. I mean, the guy reads immensely. He is super kind. He has the utmost care for courtesy and respect and honesty is his big thing. And he's big into chivalry, which is like not popular today because I guess everyone's got to be upset over something. But you know, I mean, he's not perfect. He has his flaws for sure. But I just really deeply respect the guy, and he has like zero tolerance for BS. And if he knows someone is lying to him, man, he will chase that down until he gets to the bottom of it. It's like he's the kindest guy in the world, right up until the minute that you lie to him, and then he'll bury you. I respect that so much. It's so awesome, you know. So yeah, I mean, like he has his detractors, but treat him well, he'll treat you well. He's a cool dude.
Cool. All right. Well, do you regret any decisions you made about your career or personal life?
Yeah, actually, I do. Um, so I really try to dedicate, you know, similar to this discussion about my dad and how he cares about honesty. I have really tried to dedicate pretty much every action I make in pursuit of the truth. I'm a pretty blunt guy. I have never lied for my job. And I've been asked, actually, straight up asked by clients in past jobs to lie, and I've had to tell them, like, okay, well, then this is where you fire me because I don't operate that way. Um, but you know, there were definitely things I could have done better, and oddly enough, I sought the counsel of people I trusted to say, well, is this the best way to go forward? Is this the most ethical way to go forward? And they gave me advice that in hindsight, felt like, you know what, that really wasn't. I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't, nobody got hurt, but it was sort of like that was the easy way out, and probably not the hardest way out is sometimes the most honest way, and it is sometimes the most destructive way, to be honest. Um, but I would still prefer that. Uh, so yeah, yeah, there've been a couple times like that. And I just don't want to. Oddly enough, seeking the advice of others rather than just relying on my own gut was a mistake. So so I regret listening to other people. Weirdly enough, that's bad advice, but sometimes sometimes your gut instinct is the right one.
Yeah, sometimes you should
Yeah, yeah,
question yourself, I guess. I
yeah.
don't know.
It kept me out of jail, so it's cool. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
well,
I'm
glad you're out of jail.
joking.
All right. If you could tell your 20-year-old self something, what would that be?
Oh man, get a real degree. Um, Going to engineering. Yeah, that was a dumb mistake. I should have gone into mechanical engineering. I would have been a hell of a mechanical engineer. I would have been a good one. I love that stuff. I really do.
What kind of tips would you give young people on making career decisions?
Well, I would say be flexible for one. Understand that, okay, let's say hypothetically you want to be a nuclear engineer, great, and there are only a few places that you can actually apply that skill set. So that's understandable. But at the same time, don't be totally married to, I'm going to go work at this place versus this place or whatever. It's like, I've known a lot of people that envision their entire career at being in one, like, I want to go work for Google. Yeah, okay, and that's great. That's great to have goals, but also understand that if you don't end up at Google and you end up being a programmer for like HP or something like that, be happy with that. I mean, you've still actually done pretty well in your career. So don't be so married to one goal that you're, um, totally unwilling to value what you've accomplished. And I would also say, I know I've actually said this more than a few times, but don't ever uh, don't lie for your job. Don't lie for your job. Don't do anything unethical for your job. There are a lot of people that act really in really shady ways. And they make their way into middle management. By the way, they're very good at that, but they're not respected. Okay, and they People know who these people are. All right, so I'm just saying, don't be that guy. Be a good person. You'll be rewarded for that. You really will. Um, yeah, that's about it.
All right.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper the first time I said it. Maybe it didn't.
What would you like to contribute to the world? What's one thing that you would like to give to the world?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty cynical on this whole thing because I actually feel like obviously there are a few people that have made monumental contributions to society, and then there are most of the rest of us that sort of, you know, maintain society, right? So I mean, it's hard for us to translate our contributions into something tangible. But we are all doing something meaningful. I should hope, even if you're a barista at Starbucks, it's like you're bringing happiness to somebody, every morning in the form of coffee, which is great, unless you don't drink coffee and then you're just a bad person. But um, that said, yeah, I mean, there are definitely things I want to accomplish. I don't really want to get into it, but I see some windows opening up where I can start making those differences. So I'm eager to do that. And actually on top of that, I I have been in the past a member of like Rotary International, and I encourage people to be members of service organizations because they do good charitable work, and they're also very good about enriching human beings and building better communities. So yeah, I think America as a whole is like losing that like small community mindset where people get together and they sing songs and they talk about like being better people and how they can give back to society. We're losing that. I'm not kidding. I think it's a big problem. So yeah, I'm happy to be part of stuff like that. Although I wouldn't consider myself a particularly charitable person after some depressing like working in food banks and realizing that people were leaving food banks eating better than I was, and they were chain smoking and they had 8 kids, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I helping these people? I know that sounds like a terrible thing to say, but I don't know. But even if you feel that way in your life, even if you feel cynical about, some people are working a system or whatever, and some people actually legitimately need help. Well, then find the people that need help and help them. Don't just get discouraged because you see some people in life getting away with something, because there are people in this world that are hurting and they could use somebody like you to help. So that's what I think about that.
So you talked about the community and Rotary. I've heard of Rotary, but can you tell us more about that? I think
Yeah.
you're the first person I know that has been a part of the Rotary Club.
Okay. Well, Rotary International is a big organization. I mean, it's global. It's actually oddly really really popular in Nigeria of all places, but it's started in the United States, and there are similar clubs like it. There's Kiwanis, which I think actually started as an offspring of Rotary Club, because initially Rotary only allowed 2 people of the same profession to be in a local chapter, and so if you were the third person in that profession, you had to join Kiwanis. But I mean, the goals are the same. And then there's Lions Club. There's I'll forget, some of them, but they're all service organizations. They were traditionally for men. Now they've opened up, and of course now we allow women in, which is great because I've done a lot of work with like chambers of commerce, and it's always the women that run it that are like the most impressive people you'll ever meet in your life. And when you get women involved with like service organizations, they take it to a whole new level, which that's been very transformative in the past, I'd say 10, 15 years. There's been a lot more female involvement in these organizations, and I think it's been for the better. So that's good, which is yeah, I would encourage a lot of people to be a part of something like that. It makes you realize that you're selfish when you're by yourself. It's very easy to not challenge yourself and not do things for society. So, like, Rotary is very big on eradicating polio through vaccinations. And, of course, there's the whole anti vax craze in this country because a lot of people are ignorant. But like, vaccinations actually make a big difference and they save lives. So, Rotary's been very aggressive in educating not the United States but foreign countries about this, so we can finally get rid of polio, which is cool.
Okay. So, how do you, other than the Rotary and the Chamber, you mentioned the Chamber, how do you stay connected to your community now?
Yeah, well, I actually right now I'm doing some work with the Chamber of Commerce because they have some personal enrichment classes, and it helps me get connected with the community, which I need to do because again, I am in public affairs. I talk for a living, but I mean, I'm supposed to care about community. So that's one opportunity. I'm sure others will surface. I really haven't been an active Rotarian lately because I just can't make the classes, or the sessions, I should say. I can't make them because I'm never in town when they're being hosted.
Okay. So, what are some career goals you're working on right now?
Well, I want to change my career. I want to. I like communications. I mean, it's fun. Again, I meet a lot of interesting people and I learn a lot. But going back to the discussion about actually making a difference, I want to amplify that, and I see ways to do that. I don't really want to get into some of the specifics of that, but some of those opportunities have opened up, and so jump on them. You know, it seems silly of me to. It's like your life can branch into so many different directions, and it becomes impossible to predict. And you can regret your decisions your entire life. Well, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? Don't do that. That's not a good way to live your life. But I do recognize that if I don't have some level of aggression in seizing opportunities, then I will regret that. I will regret being lazy instead of doing the right thing, which is moving on opportunities that are um, high reward.
Okay. I agree with that. Okay, so you mentioned in your personal life you draw. So, what are you doing with your drawings?
Well, I send them to friends, but at some point, when I actually finish a somewhat cogent comic book that I'm satisfied with, I'm going to do limited print runs and just give them to people, which I've already looked into. It's pretty cheap. I could do something a little larger, but I don't know. I think like some of the stuff, it's not like 10 years ago it wouldn't be considered offensive, but today, um, man, like something's going on in this country that everyone's freaking out over every little thing, and I'm really tired of it. I'm just really infuriated with how like weak-minded people are. There's a former advisor to Obama of all people he used the best analogy of this, where he was just like, people in college is a gym, and they want all the weights taken out of a gym, which is to say they don't want to ever be challenged in their lives, and so they spend all their time just getting upset and running around and blaming other people and getting offended. It's disgusting. So I worry about that. I actually do. As like somebody who likes to make creative works. It's like, man, people find people find offense in everything, and they go after you. Even if like you have the best of intentions, you're like the happiest, nicest person on earth. They go after you and they try to wreck your career. It's crazy. It's crazy how people act. So I'm legitimately worried about that because I'm trying to found a career for myself that's outside of my creative pursuits. But my creative pursuits matter to me a lot. So I'm probably just going to keep it private between me and my friends. It seems like that's the safest course.
So, could you give an example? I mean, is your comic like politically driven, or what are
Uh,
you afraid of?
I mean, sometimes I'll poke fun at this whole transphobia thing, which, like, I don't even know how I feel about transsexuality. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it, okay? I really don't. It's a complex subject, and I've heard some interesting sort of scientific explanations. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't really have an opinion on it, but the way in which we freak out over this like we can't just sit down and have a polite discussion over it. We can't. Everyone freaks out, and there's this whole like gender identity is whatever, all gender is a performance, and it's not based on like anything biological, which of course it is. I mean, we've known this for the entirety of human existence. It's like the most obvious fact that we are in total denial about it. I can't even believe I have to listen to these people, um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I made one comic where like one guy is just like, "Well, I identify as a 2003 Nissan Sentra or something like that." It's just like it makes it's its own parody. I mean, these people they shift between identifying as like animals and dragons and then they're like, I'm women, but I'm not a woman. It's like, no, you're a dude. Like, you can grow a great beard, and that's working for you, by the way. Roll with it. I don't know. It's just infuriating. I'm just tired of it. So, this is what you wanted this interview to be about, right?
No, this is a good this
Okay.
is a good discussion.
Okay.
Did you ever think that you would be where you are at this age?
No. I don't know if I ever thought I would be married or have kids. I'm not sure there was a point in my life where I actually wanted to have kids. Now I'm at the point where I don't think I ever want to be married. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I pictured and myself being when I was a kid because I liked politics a lot more, and I think I viewed myself having a little bit more of a political role. I worked for a state legislature for about 5 years, and I learned a lot, and I had a lot of opportunities to jump off of from that, but I opted to leave government altogether, and I don't regret it for a second. I'm much happier outside of it. And I think that largely the incentives that exist for people to get into government are all the wrong ones, and the disincentives for qualified people to go into government are many. So that's probably why we have the idiots that we've got in those roles. So I don't know. I wasn't happy with it, and I'm glad I got out. And I don't have the patience for it anyway, because the rate of change is absolutely glacial. So you spend your entire career working on, one legislative motion, and you probably won't see much motion or movement on it during your career. So, yep.
Okay. Well, where do you think you'll be, say, 10 years from now?
10 years from now. Well, I do have sort of 5 and 10 year plans, but right now I'm in the midst of sort of updating that, and I have several different directions that I would like to go into. But frankly, I don't know. There's too many directions. I'm really even thinking about going back on a pipeline. There's some opportunities for me, and the money's too good, and there ain't nothing really going on with me personally that would hold me up from that. So, yeah, I think I'd really enjoy that.
So, what are some personal things you're working on, like for your career right now?
I'm just making money.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm kind of tired of public affairs, to be honest. I mean, I'm good at it, so I can keep doing it for a while. I could keep doing it for the rest of my career if I wanted. I feel like I've done it. I feel like it's something that I've done, and I want to move on and build new skill sets. So, one thing that I really was tempted to get into, and I just didn't find the right opportunity because things fell apart. But I wanted to get into right-of-way negotiation, and those are the guys that go out and negotiate with landowners for, say, either pipelines or utility crossing or like new construction for a highway. You go out and you tell a landowner, hey, this is what we're looking at. We want to purchase an easement across your property. They say, get off my property, never come back here again, I'll kill you. And then you work your way to a compromise and you give them a big check. And I actually really like that role. I've gotten exposed to it, and on some level, it's a lot like what I've done in public affairs in the past, where you have people that are hostile to your cause, and you stake your reputation on the line, and you stick by them, and you fix problems, and you build trust with them, and at the end of the day, again, you've worked toward progress, mutual progress, rather than just one sided. Except in the case of eminent domain, and then somebody loses. But yeah. So it's complicated, but it's rewarding, I think. And again, it's dealing with people in ways that and I've always cared a lot about my integrity, and I think people recognize in the past, like you come up to their house and you work for an oil company, and they already don't like you. But when you treat them honestly and fairly all along the way, like I don't know, I take a sense of reward from that, from having built trust with somebody based on just being honest. I like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Depends on if an opportunity opens up, but I'm not saying I'm going to do that tomorrow. It's just something that I'm considering.
Okay.